Ever since the pandemic, I'm like, okay, I guess I just have no friends now. Same. Like, I had friends before this thing hit. Now I only know myself. Right? The only person I know now is basically my mom. Accurate. The Wedding People by Alison Espach. Yeah, The Wedding People. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. This book is so freaking relatable. Like, everything that this girl is talking about and going through, and when she's talking about the past and the present and the future, it's all so relatable. It's talking about like the pandemic a lot too, how like those 2 years of everyone's lives on the planet was like rocked by that situation, and people are still recovering years later from the pandemic. And I'm like, is she talking about me? Cause like this seems oddly specific. Pause. Have you hit the like button yet? Have you subscribed yet? Leave a comment down below of a book emoji if you're here with me. It's crazy how being locked down and all this kind of stuff, how that changed the dynamic of like people's lives. And people are still trying to become back to how they used to be before the pandemic. So anyway, but you wouldn't even think that this story will be about that because it's called The Wedding People. So you're like, wait, what? It's about this girl named Phoebe and this bride. So Phoebe shows up at this Cornwall Inn alone. She's wearing like a green dress and gold heels, no suitcase in sight. She just shows up by herself. She always wanted to go to this Cornwall Inn with her husband and check oysters and like at the ocean and all this kind of stuff. But for some reason that we have to read to find out, she's not there with her husband. She's there by herself. But anyway, at the same time, while Phoebe is at this inn, there's like this huge wedding going on. And the bride, you know how brides are, they account for every single detail of this wedding. It's like a big party that they throw, right? So she knows everything that's going on and when things are gonna happen. She has accounted for every detail of this wedding except Phoebe. And so she meets Phoebe on the elevator and she's like, oh, are you part of like the groom's family? Like, did I not meet you before? She's like, wait, you're not here for the wedding? So everybody just assumes, even the people that's working at the inn, they all assume that she's there for the wedding too, because everybody else is there for the wedding. The bride did not account for Phoebe and Phoebe's plans, which we gotta read to find out what her plans are. So Phoebe and the Phoebe and the bride become close. They start confiding in each other. They start telling each other their secrets. When you meet a stranger, it's equivalent to having a therapist, where like the therapist is a person that you don't know and they don't know anyone that you know personally, or like that's how it should be, like confidential, whatever. So you can tell them literally any and everything and they don't know who you're really talking about. It gives you that sense of freedom to just like speak freely about like anything terrible that you might want to say, or anything terrible that you went through. You can say it freely because they don't even know who you're talking about. So it gives you a little bit of like sense of security and safe, like, you know what I'm saying, compared to talking to a best friend about all the people that all of y'all know that could get back to them. Like, you know, it might change the dynamic of you and your friends, stuff like that. Anyway, Phoebe is talking to the bride is talking to Phoebe, and they become close because they're just sharing like how they really feel and all this kind of stuff, because it's easy to do that when you don't really know them. There are no stakes in the game, whatever. Like, she's not part of the wedding, she's just there. Like, it's just Phoebe. Girl, it's so freaking good. I'm not even gonna lie, it had the biggest twist. I was like, wait, like when you find out the plan, you're like, wait, what? And I just love how it keeps going back into like Phoebe and the bride, how the bride is about to get married and Phoebe is talking about her life and how things are just like completely different from the bride's life. Like, they have completely opposite lives. Like, they're just so drastically different. Like, this bride is obviously like really rich if she can like rent out this whole expensive inn for her wedding, and then you have Phoebe there who's just showing up. It's like, I don't know, it's just really good. An incredibly nuanced and resonant look at the winding paths we can take to places we never imagined. And the chance encounters it sometimes takes to reroute us. You did not plan on meeting that person today, and then you met them, and now your whole life just changed. You were over here, your path connected to their path, which took both of y'all on a whole different path. Like, stuff like that is like real life, real life. I finished the book, y'all. So now that I finished reading this book, let's talk about it. So, I'm not gonna lie, like I mentioned previously, everything that this girl is talking about and going through, and when she's talking about the past and the present and the future, it's all so relatable. This book covers a lot of like life topics, so it hits on all things from the past, the present, and future. A person who is married, a person who is going through a lot, a person who just met a new friend randomly in a new place, like at this inn. And it's just like, it's cool how it takes you on the journey of like two friends who just met, and like that dynamic. And then also, because Phoebe met up with this bride, it's interesting to see how the bride interacts with her friends, like her maid of honor and her bridesmaids and stuff like that, like her closest friends from high school. It talks about how that friendship changed over time, how when they were in high school they were like thick as thieves, besties, and all this kind of stuff. And then as you grow up and have different life experiences, people change, but they're your bridesmaids in your wedding. So it's like that dynamic is so, it's different, it's interesting. Like, I never read a book about like real life stuff that is so relatable, so accurate, so real. I graded this book 5 stars. If you saw my video about the best books of 2024, this was definitely one of them. 5 stars easily. Like, from the moment I started reading the book, I was immediately captivated. The storyline is really good. The chapters are pretty long, but it wasn't like boring. I was able to get through it. Some books that have long chapters, I end up like DNFing, stop reading because I don't really care that much. It's like, no way. But this book, even though the chapters were long, I found myself wanting to read through it, wanting to read. So I think that's also a really good sign. And I just love how relatable it was. I feel like there are so many things in this book that's like quotable. There are so many life quotes that I just wanted to like write down, take a picture of it to remember it forever. She's really good at like saying things in a way that makes you go, oh my god, this will be an awesome quote. Throughout this whole book, there are so many quotes in this book that I kept. There's a big twist in there as well. It's just so realistic and so relatable, and so, I don't know how to describe it. I just feel really wholesome. I feel really good about this book. Like, it was very much a good book to end the year with, because it talks about like wrapping things up, like the end of one season and the beginning of a new season. Like, it's talking about the bride, the end of being single to the beginning of being married, the drama and the gossip that was going on between the bride and Phoebe. Like, the bride is gossiping about all of her old friends and her like her bridesmaids and stuff, and then Phoebe is kind of gossiping about like her life as well. She can relate to everything the bride is talking about, and I just love the gossip and the drama aspect of it as well. Being married versus not being married. Overall, it was a really good read. I absolutely loved it. This is a book that I definitely would reread because it just hits on so many like life lessons. And like I said before, it was a really good book to end the last year with because of how it talks about ending something and starting something new. It talks about stepping forward and stepping into something and just like being your own person, becoming your own person, and just thinking for yourself. It makes you like want to reflect on your own life, which reading this book at the end of a year where you were like doing a lot of reflecting anyway, it's like it came at a good time. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not like a fast-paced read, but it's definitely not slow either. It was just great. Loved it. 5 stars. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's very relatable. Have you read this book? What did you think of it? What did you rate it? Honestly, because I'm really curious because we all have different opinions. Comment down below.